And we are live. We are live. I gotta update my link real fast. Just give me 1 minute. Had a little bit of puppy trouble this morning. She just can't decide how often she needs to go to the bathroom. You know, sometimes she's like, I just want to go once in the morning, then it's like twice, and it's like 3 times, and you bring him inside. Oh, I gotta mute myself. All right, there's the link. Putting this on the website for the few people that do enjoy it. Actually, Squarespace. Thank you for bearing with me, anybody and everybody and all. Let's see. I love it. I can't believe the stream's actually up this well. Oh, man. I wish it would give me this link before I started my streaming, but have the link now that I'm streaming. So yeah, I guess while I'm doing this, I will double task and say that today we are going to be talking about starvation mode, if it's a real thing. We're going to be talking about reasons why you're not losing weight on keto. Those are kind of the videos I was going to do last time. And then I had a question a while ago about vinegar. And I guess it's hard to say this. So basically, I like home remedies quite a bit, but vinegar is one that, okay, there, sweet. Livestream links updated on my website. Bam. Bam. Thank you. Last thing before I get rolling 120%. So just want to live stream. There we go. All right, pages. Sorry. So the interesting topic of the day for me is going to be vinegar. That's one that I've heard about for a very long time. I knew it had antiseptic properties, but I've never really checked it out as far as the validity of any of the health benefits that other people like to throw onto it. So, okay, live stream's been posted. Let's just talk about vinegar right now. I would like to do that. Okay, let's double check everything that's going on. All right. So, shameless website plug. Sorry, I was just updating my. I was just updating that real fast. 8 minutes late. Hey, that's like way more on time than it was last week. So, again, we're going to talk about the starvation mode, not losing weight on keto, and I wanted to talk about vinegar a little bit, and then kind of go into the process of how I actually verify this stuff. And then, what else did I write down? I want to talk about getting started with exercise and how to go about getting started with exercise, priming your joints, your mindset, programming, that kind of thing. So I had a question from somebody that I know, and they asked about my opinion on vinegar, just kind of in general, like the health benefits of vinegar. And it was like, are the gummies okay? Is the oral liquid okay? Are they the same? And I kind of said to myself, probably. But as far as the benefits were, I knew it had to do with a lot of things, So I think the main one is acetic acid. Yeah. So acetic acid in apple cider vinegars, this talks about how it's made. It's fermented, and then something happens again. Is it fermented? Yeah, fermented twice, and then acetic acid. Acetic acid is where most of the, if not all of the health benefits come from. So let's see. Consists of strands of proteins, blah, 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 blah. Kill harmful bacteria. Yeah, I definitely know that it is an antimicrobial for sure. This is the one that I was like, trying to figure trying to figure out the rest of it for, as far as like the actual mechanism of how it does it. So, treating type 2 diabetes. Obviously, if you could have apple cider vinegar, that's a whole lot easier than going outside, exercising, and maybe not even eating as much in the first place, right? So let's look into the validity of this. Um, let's see, characterized by high blood. So basically, just to go out, if you're not sure what type 2 diabetes is, you have high enough blood sugar for a long enough period of time. Insulin, which is what your body uses to reduce your blood sugar, your body becomes resistant to it like it does any hormone that's elevated for a long period of time, like for instance, steroids or something maybe. Um, and once your body's resistant to the insulin, your blood sugar stays up. Then your hemoglobin A1C, which is your glycosylated or sugared hemoglobin, goes up. Then your nerves start to get glycosylated, which is why you have the stocking glove appearance where you have, you lose your fingertips and your toes. Is that a song? I think it is. Eyes next. Uh, those tend to go. Then you have issues with circulation, so you get like the diabetic ulcers, which are very fun to clean out. Oh, sorry, I just had like a PTSD flashback. I had to clean those out for so many weeks in a row. Oh, whew. But I've been there. I was there. We at least had fun. We made jokes. All right, so the most effective and healthiest way to regulate blood sugar levels is to avoid refined carbs and sugar. True, but very few doctors will tell diabetic patients to avoid refined carbohydrates and sugar. They'll say, make sure you have it on hand at all times, which is not a bad idea. That's kind of like you've kind of got yourself into such a hole where you're playing chemist with your blood sugar for so much that you have to have little things and tricks and tips. Like you have to pay attention. Are you lightheaded and sweating? My sugar's down. Okay. Are you like Pavlov's dogs? Are you lightheaded and you're sweating because you just crave sugar now and that's kind of just how your body's doing it now? Or is your blood sugar actually low? Do you want to actually check your blood sugar? It gets frustrating, but you got yourself in there. So getting out of that hole is going to be equally, maybe I don't want to say equally as frustrating, but it's going to be frustrating. Um, let's just see here real fast. Man, I just had a super big brain fart. It's going to come back to me. So, whenever I was checking this out for how this would actually do anything, um, a lot of it had to do with while they were eating the high carbohydrate meal. So basically, it helps lower your blood sugar after you have a carbohydrate meal. And whenever it says significantly lower blood sugar and the insulin response, I don't really think it means it lowers the actual insulin response. If you lower blood sugar, you have to use insulin to lower your blood sugar or something that makes the glucose transporters that are sensitive to insulin do something. So, like for instance, when you lift weights, the same receptors that get rid of blood sugar, like sugar from your blood, are glucose transporters that are sensitive to insulin. But with resistance training, there's a conformational change in the receptor. They still use the insulin. So I'm not really sure about this one. So basically, during a high carb meal. Cool. 5 healthy people, vinegar reduced blood sugar by 31% after eating 50 grams of white bread. So another sugar meal. That consuming 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar before bedtime reduced fasting blood sugar by 4%. Yeah, I can kind of see. So fasting blood sugar if you're diabetic, that's what improves. So the longer you fast, the more hours that we are spent in a fasted state. Granted, you really need to have like 8 to 12 for it to actually even matter. Like, I mean, that sounds horrible, but you have to deplete something called your glycogen stores. That's how your body stores sugar, and they're in your muscles and mostly in your liver. But once that's depleted, then your body reaches for something else like fat. And so when your glycogen stores get low enough, um, that's whenever people can sort of have the ketogenic effects of a low carb diet. But so anyway, okay. 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar before bedtime reduced fasting blood sugar by 4%. The following morning, so when they woke up the next day, they had 4% lower fasted blood sugar after they just had vinegar. I'd say that's cool. but I would also like to know when they had dinner, um, stuff like that. What was their levels at before? I'm sure it's in this study, but this one doesn't necessarily seem super cool to me. These are the ones that most people probably care about. So rather than just erroneously or whatever having apple cider vinegar or vinegar whatever, having it with meals probably seems like the best course of action so far based on what I've been able to find. Show that in humans that vinegar can improve insulin function and lower blood sugar levels after meals. So again, I don't know how it improves its function. I don't know if the fact that it's just the acetic acid, if the lower pH creates a better environment. It's really hard to find that actual mechanism because everything is so BuzzFeedy and just wants to use words like magical and stuff. It's really difficult to find the actual mechanism. So, may aid in weight loss. Vinegar could help people lose weight. Well, if vinegar can increase your insulin sensitivity and lower your blood sugar, it's going to help you lose weight. Anything that lowers your blood sugar increases your insulin sensitivity, it's going to have you lose weight. For example, according to one study, taking vinegar along with a high-carb meal led to feeling of fullness. Yeah. Okay. Improves heart health in animals. We're an animal. Makes sense, right? Let's see. Yeah, heart disease is one of the leading causes of death. Obesity is a pretty big player in that. We all know that. It's all related, right? We need to stop putting everything into boxes. We're all in one big box. Research suggests that vinegar can improve several of these risk factors. However, many of these studies were conducted in animals. These animal studies suggest that apple cider vinegar can lower cholesterol and triglyceride levels, as well as several others. There you go. Okay, cool. I don't really like them talking about cholesterol so much. So misrepresented. Not that bad. Okay. Reduces blood pressure. And like 90% of all increased and elevated blood pressure is idiopathic. So screw it. Let's throw vinegar at it. I like that idea. May boost skin health. You know what really will boost skin health? Taking a bottle of aspirin and putting it, crushing it up, putting it in yogurt or whatever the heck you want to mix it in to apply it to your skin, and doing an aspirin face scrub. One of the most amazing things that you'll ever be able to do for your skin. And anytime you see any salicylate or salicylic acid or anything like that in your $4,000 skin product, it's aspirin. Aspirin's amazing. Yeah, so I don't know about using it as a toner. Maybe that topical, cool. I would have to look at how much of it is actually absorbed. I know if I have irritation on my skin with vinegar, I know that it's at least getting into that cut area. And then they go into the dosage and how to use it. Cool. So this thing right here said, studies show that vinegar significantly influences your body's response to sugar and can improve. So the more your body responds to sugar, the better. That would be your insulin sensitivity. Insulin sensitivity, all that's saying is how sensitive you are to insulin. So whenever your body releases a little bit of insulin, which tries to get rid of sugar from your blood and balance you out, right? The more sensitive you are to that, the less it takes and the less time it takes. So anything that increases your body response to sugar will help improve your insulin sensitivity. Those are like one and the same. This is just telling you how to have it. Okay, now I get into the cinnamon extract. So here's one of the studies that they were referencing just because I was clicking through a few of them. And this was like ingestion at bedtime moderates waking glucose concentrations in adults with well-controlled type 2 diabetes. Fun fact, if you over-control your type 2 diabetes, like you regulate your blood sugar and maintain it, if your A1C is super, like if you try to get your A1C super low and you overly regulate with insulin, which is what most of them do, they don't regulate with their diet, they just overly regulate with medication rather than actually what they put in their mouth. They're more likely to have complications. I think it's like complications like heart disease, kidney failure, stuff like that. Super cool. Yeah, so this is another one of those studies that was part of proving that your morning glucose levels were going to be decreased whenever you have vinegar. So I don't know. Like, you know, some people might take vinegar and notice a lot, right? Some people might take it and notice absolutely nothing. All I'm saying is try it. I think it tastes like, but if I was trying to, an expression my coach in college used was put every bullet in your, like another bullet in your gun, right? Put another bullet in your gun. So basically if I'm trying to lose weight, if I'm overweight, and I've already tried all these I don't want to say the S word for stupid. All these other programs and diets and temporary fixes that yo-yo me back and forth and decrease my muscle mass by increasing my fat mass over time and making me more and more unhealthy as I continue. Something like apple cider vinegar. It's dirt cheap. If it works, cool. That's the kind of stuff people should be trying. They shouldn't be trying these like 5-day juice cleanses and just seeing how much crap they can get out of their colon. When in reality, it's like they don't do anything for your body. Okay, so we talked about vinegar. Now I want to talk about the thing that I like to talk about the most. I like talking about fasting a lot, and keto is really fun. So let's see here. Thank you, Chris. Here we go. Starvation mode. Is it a real or imaginary? I had a lot prepared to say about this my last video, but I ranted so much about the first article. So I'm going to take a minute to get into my train of thought here. So let's see here. Weight loss is associated with numerous physical benefits. Positive thing. That's true. Your brain is more worried about keeping you from starving. Doesn't necessarily see it that way. Yeah, kind of. When you lose a lot of weight, your body starts to conserve energy by reducing the number of calories burned. Yeah. So I know everyone always has this like basal metabolic rate in your brain where that's like the amount of calories your body's going to use every single day. And as long as you just below that, you're going to lose weight. And they say, try to be right around 500 calories below your basal metabolic rate of the amount of calories you're going to use that day. Because if you go too low, you'll feel a little uncomfortable. But if you're 500, around 500, there's 3,500 calories and a pound of fat. So that's about a pound of fat every single week. No, it's like your body's way smarter than that, but we just like to pretend that we're smarter than. It's like everything's so simple. Your body is able to conserve energy. Your basal metabolic rate can fluctuate. Your body, like if I just have one example, I guess I like to use a lot. So take somebody who's been the same weight for like 5 years, right? I have been the same weight for the last like 3 years ish. So you're telling me that I have had almost exactly the right amount of calories daily to never gain or lose any weight. Like when you start thinking about it that way, there's like gotta be some variation in there. Is it your metabolism? Is it your thyroid hormone? I don't know. Is it your vinegar? Probably not that, but all I'm saying is so yes, obviously your body does something to conserve energy. And obviously there's people that can eat as many calories as they possibly can put into their mouth and they never gain weight. So it either has something to do with lack of them digesting it or utilizing the calories, or if there's a surplus, they just get rid of it. Everyone always thinks that we just use everything that goes into our mouth, and we totally don't. We totally don't. Like the thermic effect of protein, I think is like 10% of the calories from protein that you eat go into actually burning and digesting and metabolizing the other. Oh, so anyway, let's see. Your body can reduce the number of calories burned, makes you feel hungrier, lazier, and increases food cravings. So, fun fact, whenever your body is going without food, it is not making you hungrier, lazier, and increasing food cravings. Because evolutionarily, if you were a species looking for food and you hadn't had any food, why would you be lazier? No, your norepinephrine, epinephrine goes up, right? Your growth hormone, all of your anabolic hormones, dopamine, all these things increase to make you more alert and ready to hunt, which is why all those studies, we don't say the S word anymore, that came out trying to prove that having breakfast was cognitively superior than fasting, they're wrong. Because when you fast, you are more aware and your body is almost in like sympathetic, which is fight or flight, seeking food mode, where when you eat, you literally go into parasympathetic, which is rest and digest. Yes, rest and digest. That's how I want my kids to be at school. They're super alert whenever they're at school like that. I'm not saying you shouldn't give your kids breakfast. I just think that trying to compare studies with adults and stuff like that about cognitive function, anyway, it's just kind of weird. Yeah, they make you feel so miserable that you abandon your weight loss efforts and regain the weight. Let's just give another crutch to this. No. Us feeling hungry and all this stuff, that we feel so miserable that we have to abandon our weight loss efforts and regain the weight, that's just because culturally and medically, we have created this environment where people feel like we have to have food. We use the word starving. I even use the word starving sometimes. And it's like, I'm not starving. I'm not starving at all. We could go weeks and weeks and weeks without food. Some of us could go months without food as long as we had water or vitamins, you know? Um, so this phenomenon is your brain's natural mechanism to protect you from starvation. It's called the starvation mode. And it's coined by like every single fitness and industry and marketing team ever. We don't want that. Actually, a lot of them want to use it. So here we go. What does this imply? People generally refer to starvation mode sometimes as metabolic damage, your body's natural response to long-term calorie restriction. So long-term caloric restriction and fasting are not necessarily the same thing. Let's just keep that in mind, 100%. Reducing caloric expenditure to maintain energy balance and prevent starvation. This is a natural physiological response. And the technical term is adaptive thermogenesis. Finally, okay. Sometimes you get really worried when they don't use those words. Not that they have to use these words, it's just nice to know that they're actually going to use this word. Thanks, PubMed. The term starvation mode is a misnomer. A true starvation is something that is almost completely irrelevant to most weight loss. Hey, thanks, Chris, from Healthline. So starvation mode is a useful physiological response, although it does more harm than good in modern food environment where obesity runs rampant. That's true, but hopefully he's going to start talking about all the ways to, okay, calories in versus calories out. Yeah, there's an energy accumulation for sure, but while it is you have more calories in than out, the out part has to do with, okay, once the calories go in, right? How much of it are you actually absorbing? Once it goes into your bloodstream, are you using it? Is it actually being utilized? And by utilize, I mean in your daily expenditure of energy. Is it going into your fat? Is it going right out of your body? Are you breathing it out? Because when you breathe out fat, you don't really, unless you don't absorb it, then you poop it out. But all the fat that you get rid of when you lose weight comes out CO2, right? So let's see here. So this is basically talking about the caloric theory, which I like to say caloric theory because a lot of what it says doesn't really make sense. It's just once you get people to realize that the calories out is where all the hormone sensitivities, all the GI gut health comes to play, then you can have a little bit of an idea of why certain people can get away with eating foods based upon their fat mass to lean mass ratios. And anyway, that's where a lot of the stuff, that's where the fun comes in. This is just simple math. I don't like to do it though, obviously. All weight loss diets cause a reduction in caloric intake. Not all of them. There's some old ones where they did really cool keto and oily diets, like had a lot of this oil. They like had these super polyunsaturated fatty oils like safflower oil and peanut oil. They were definitely not on a caloric restriction, and they were losing weight. But I don't know how much of that oil they actually absorbed and what it does for the digestion, you know. So anyway, here we go. Controlling caloric intake. Yeah, counting calories. While others do by reducing appetite, do so by reducing appetite so that you can eat fewer calories. Fun fact, whenever you fast, you eventually will reduce your appetite and get used to the fasting, and then you'll eat fewer calories rather than actually having to count calories and watch portions, which is terrible. I mean, you should be doing it all at the same time, but counting calories is just, it's obnoxious. Let's see, calories out becomes greater than the number of calories entering, thus you lose fat, which your body views as the beginning of starvation. Not necessarily true. As a result, your body fights back, doing everything it can to make you stop losing. So I would say your body fights you back and does everything it can to make you stop losing weight unless you are exercising in a particular way or weight training. So the more intense whatever you're doing is as far as your exercise, be it sprinting, and sprinting doesn't just mean on like a ground or a treadmill. You can sprint on a bike, you can sprint on an elliptical, you can sprint on a stair stepper, whatever you want. Or you can technically sprint in the weight room. So anytime you're accelerating any weight whatsoever, so even if it's only moving like a mile or two an hour, or as long as you're focusing on acceleration, that's working the same fast twitch muscles. Or if you have a very long eccentric, so if you're lowering the weight slowly, that's mostly primarily fast twitch muscles, all of which are associated with sprinting and being explosive and intensity. The more you do that type of exercise, and again, sorry, I know that was a lot, your body won't necessarily go into this withdrawal mode where you're restricting calories, but form matches function. So if your function hasn't really changed, your body's not going to really try to change its form too much because it's happy. You've been here, you're doing great. You get to have all this sugar all the time. It's like your brain gets this like little cocaine hit every single day, maybe every single morning. So once you actually start changing your function, the form will follow. I like that expression a lot. So we'll talk more about the exercise stuff in just a minute, probably a few minutes. This phenomenon is very real, but whether it's so powerful to prevent you from losing weight or even cause you to gain weight despite continued caloric restriction. Let's see. The number of calories you burn can change. Your BMR, thermal effective food, that's real. Thermal effective exercise is a lot lower than you think. And then people like to say, oh, wait, exercise has a thermic effect. Let's use the afterburn effect. Let's talk about afterburners. Top Gun reference. It's like, shut up, guys. Like, let it go. There is an afterburn effect. It's just a little bit, it's not. So for instance, if I sprint, right? Sprinting isn't necessarily going to burn all those calories right then and there. It's the after effect of me just rapidly depleting all of my glycogen, ATP, creatine, all those stores. I ripped off the phosphates of every single thing that I have. So once I'm done sprinting, I then have to go back and I have to replenish everything. And I just ran the crap out of all of my fast twitch muscles. So there's going to be a lot of metabolic or metabolites. They're very, anaerobic when you're sprinting. So anaerobic metabolites are one of the 3 primary builders of hypertrophy. So you have like time under tension, you have progressive overload, and you have metabolic damage. Anyway, that's way too much for this. I should not be going into these tangents as much as I do. So the most important hormones are leptin, thyroid hormone, and norepinephrine. Levels of all of these hormones can decrease with caloric restriction. So your thyroid hormone and your norepinephrine will decrease if you're calorically restricting yourself, but if you're actually fasting, none of these hormone changes are seen. Fun fact. That's why I say fasting and caloric restriction are not the same thing at all. Your body responds to them completely differently. Caloric restriction can reduce your metabolism. And this is caloric restriction, by the way, not fasting. Fasting is restricting your calories, but in the sense of what they're talking about, they're just talking about having slightly less, like a very extremely low amount of calories, and they always have a crap load of carbs in it instead of fat or protein. Even if they didn't have protein, I wish it was just all fat. Like, never mind. So let's see here. This amounts to 5.8 calories per day for each pound of fat lost. Oh, yeah. So basically, this is just showing how many calories per day that you don't burn when you lose fat. So like, if you lose a pound of fat, you burn 5.8 less. But they were also showing that it's not linear, and that when you lose a lot of weight, some people were having a massive drop. So let's see, predicted changes in weight. In fact, some people show that losing and maintaining 10% of your body weight can reduce the calories burned. So if you lose 10% of your body weight, if you're 100 pounds and you go to 90 pounds, then their caloric expenditure could go down by up to 25%. And again, this is caloric restriction. This is not fasting. And this is not talking about them in a high intensity. And I don't want you to think HIIT and being on like one of those assault bikes just railing away, right? High intensity is relative to who you are and what you're doing. And it can apply to cardio. It can apply to yoga. It can apply to whatever you want. Anything plyometrically explosive involving acceleration or a long, prolonged eccentric or lowering phase is going to primarily impact fast twitch muscles, which I want you to think fast twitch muscles, explosive, plyometric, sprinting, look like sprinters, don't look like long distance runners. That's how we want to train, because that's where we are going to get the most bang for our buck as far as improving our insulin sensitivity. Okay? Long little rant there, but Okay, metabolic slowdown may even greater in groups that have a hard time losing weight, such as postmenopausal women. Postmenopausal women are like, we should all have postmenopausal women month. It should be a very big month because they don't have testosterone really. They don't have estrogen really. And so they don't have any protective hormones um, unless they get on, hormone replacement. But then a lot of times they got to have a, hysterectomy, and like bilateral hysterectomy, just because they're going to have cancer if they're on estrogen forever. Just like guys, eventually, if males live to be like 1,000 years old, we'd all have prostate cancer eventually. It's kind of like numbers game. So muscle mass tends to decrease. Yeah. So here we go. Muscle mass tends to decrease. Muscle is metabolically active and burns calories around the clock. True. That's why we want more muscle. So everybody who's trying to lose weight, just like, I want to do high reps. I want to have very few calories. I want to go in there. I want to feel the burn. Feel the burn. I don't want to lift weights. I don't want to get stronger. I don't want more muscle. And it's like muscle is one of the most metabolically active tissues in your entire body, other than maybe brown fat, right? But we don't really have that much of that. We're not babies. Sorry, there's a lot of cool stuff about brown fat that just shot through my brain for first time in a while. So, muscle, you should never think you don't want to be stronger or have more muscle. If having muscle was easy, everybody in Hollywood would not take steroids for it. If having muscle was easy, every single guy in the gym would be huge. So, whenever you take women who do not have testosterone really at any significance, and they have estrogen, and they say they don't want to lift weights because they don't want to get strong, they don't want to put on muscle, they don't want to get too big, when muscle is one of the most controlling, like one of the most calorically burning and metabolically controlling, or like as far as influencing your metabolism, your insulin sensitivity, like that is whenever you eat those big meals, whenever you crave, or like whenever you like splurge or something like that, if you have a lot of muscle. It's so important. Like once you're over 50, even whenever they don't even really tell you to increase your protein intake, if everybody over the age of 50 just doubled their protein intake and maybe lifted weights or maybe did body weight, because I mean, honestly, lifting weights and doing body weight exercises, they're the same thing initially until you get strong enough to be able to do more than that, right? And sometimes you have to be a little creative with what you do body weight wise or calisthenically. Um, so all I'm saying is muscle is your friend. Protein is your friend. The more muscle and the more protein that you take up to a certain degree, right? The better you're going to feel, and the more control over your blood sugar will be, kind of out of your hands with what you do every day, and it's just in the hands of your muscles. Your muscles are metabolically very active, and they help your pancreas and everything else maintain a nice basal, low level of blood sugar. I'm sorry, I'm kind of seeming all like mentally in disarray because there's so many thoughts that are coming into my brain, and I really don't write out a huge script for this at all. I kind of just like to see where the wind takes me. So let's see if we agree. Oh, the single most effective thing you can do is resist sex. Thank you, Chris. Pound it, man. Yes, bodyweight exercises can work just as well until you hit a threshold where you're doing like 457,000 sit-ups. Then you can just hang from a bar and do leg raises for like 20 reps. You're gassed. You know what I mean? Adding weights to things is just, it's amazing. Providing 800 calories daily. 800 calories daily is just miserable. Like I would rather see the diet where you take those 800 calories a day, whatever, and then I would rather have them fast, have nothing for a day, or have those 800 calories within a very short window, or like so alternate day fasting, either eating like one meal a day, or just fasting for like 2 or 3 days and then eating a bunch and then fasting for 2 or 3 days, or like there's just other ways of doing it than having constant food in our freaking mouths. So those in the group that didn't exercise did aerobic exercises and they lost muscle mass and experienced significant reductions. So people who reduced their calories They lost a lot of muscle mass and experienced significant reduction in metabolic rate. There you go. The women who did resistance exercise maintained their metabolic rate, muscle mass, and strength levels. Weird. So they're maintaining their muscle, which muscle is what makes everything look good. We all think that fat makes stuff look good because we put silicone under things. But muscle is what keeps things nice and dense. Whenever you have a fair bit of muscle under something that's fat, it's more firm. The less muscle you have, the more jiggly you are. That's why when you look at an 85-year-old lady, her arms are really tiny, but whenever she goes like this, it's like whomp down to there. There's no muscle there. There's no muscle. All the fascia is like so old and just, oh. But if you look at an 80-year-old lady, and they exist on the internet, go look them up, that lift weights. They're like the fit grandma people population. They are not flabby, saggy, not at all. They don't run marathons. Anybody who runs distance eventually can barely walk later on in life. Running marathons for extended period of time, amazing mentally, but physically, it's kind of pointless. Doesn't do anything calorically. It doesn't do anything metabolically. The only thing it really does is give you a good heart, a very strong heart and lung health. But you can achieve cardiovascular conditioning with resistance training and higher intensity exercises that will actually benefit your body instead of rheumatologically destroying your joints. Here we go. Keep protein high. Thank you, Chris from Healthline. Protein is the king of macronutrients when it comes to losing weight. Having a high protein intake can both reduce appetite because it's the most, what is that word? It's just the most satiating. There we go. Makes you feel full. It can also reduce cravings, like nice stack caloric intake. Yeah, most people are like, hey, let me just grab a chicken breast for my midnight snack. I don't do that. But if you did do it, you'd feel way full, way more full, way fuller more, So keep in mind that you can reap the benefits of protein by simply adding it to your diet without consciously restricting it. Yeah, you like rice a lot? Add eggs to it. That's one really great way to add more protein. Just put eggs in anything. Eggs, they're one of the most amazing foods on the entire planet. And if you can stomach just swallowing them down like Rocky, go for it. Because I think you'd have to have 3 or 4 raw eggs every single day for over 50 years to even be exposed to one egg that could give you salmonella. And then the chances of that one egg actually giving you salmonella are almost equally as low. Really hard to get it from eggs. So taking a break from your diet might help. Yeah. So refeeding windows, those are really important. So basically, if you think about it this way, anytime you do anything exercise-wise, diet-wise, go on it for about 4 to 6 weeks. 4 to 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, somewhere around there. That's kind of the ballpark it takes your body to adjust to things. And we all want things right now, like the little kid in Target, but we don't get that physically unless even steroids take like a week to actually really start doing stuff. I guess surgery is really quick too, but so refeeding. So let's say you're on a new exercise. I give you a workout. I can write workouts. I don't really like to write workouts, but it's pretty simple. They're a few basic movement patterns. You find the variations that people like. You play with the rep schemes and the tempos, blah, blah, blah. It's really fun. That's what personal trainers do. They're just, some of them, the really good ones are a little bit more creative and they're prettier than me and they're better at marketing. But after 6 to 8 weeks, it's a really good idea, if you don't have a lot of variation in that exercise, to change it up. Even if you're doing the exact same exercises, just change up the tempo, the sets, the order, something like that, and your body will respond. And if you do the same exercises in the same way, your body kind of slowly stops responding as much. But you either change the exercises, you change the tempo, you change the sets, you change the reps, you change the order, you change something, your body will respond again. So you don't have to be like ultra creative to where you see the word hyper-functional thrown around where people are standing one leg on a medicine ball, spinning a plate, doing a bicep curl. Like that stuff's obnoxious and just how people get hurt and probably how CrossFit started. We want to really get into it. But so basically, here we go. Taking a break. There's some evidence that that this can temporarily boost some of the hormones that decrease the weight, like leptin and thyroid hormone. It may also be useful to take a longer break as in a few weeks. Well, yeah, so if you're dieting for a few months, you take a few weeks. But when they say refeeds, they're not just like bah, like going crazy. You know, like for instance, my girlfriend's dog is fat. It's fat. We feed him twice a day, so he shouldn't be fat. But he can go see his mom or his dad once a day or once a week. And in the 1 or 2 days a week, he is given enough treats to stay fat, despite being on a very calorically restricted diet with plenty of exercise. So for everybody who's wondering, can you get fat 1 day a week, being really bad, and then the other days a week being really good? Yeah, super possible, super possible. But there's things you can do. You know, you could splurge on a day where you go crazy exercise wise, as long as you just have to be more good than bad. You'll usually lose weight. But super big splurges with sedentary lifestyles like that dog, ah, you know, dog physiology is not necessarily the same. But okay, here we go. I don't even know if we're talking about the starvation mode anymore, but this is just kind of good stuff to talk about because hopefully it gives you guys some good information. I just want to make sure, yeah, we're good here. So a weight loss plateau can be caused by many things. Yeah, when you first attempt to lose weight, you may experience rapid results. So usually the first bit of water weight or weight that pours off of people literally is water. You're anytime you start a weight loss program, most of the time you shut out sugar and carbs, bread, stuff like that. Those are very osmotically active and they make you store a ton of water. So you can lose like 15 or 20 pounds in a week, depending upon how big you are, and it's a lot of water. But I like to think that it's really cool because it's like this initial motivator for people. So it's like it's kind of a double-edged sword though, because sometimes people have this huge amount of weight pour off of them just because they're getting rid of a ton of unnecessary water weight. But then the actual weight loss starts and they get discouraged because, oh man, I lost 10 pounds on Friday. Why am I not losing any more weight? So it's a good thing if you use it as a motivator, but you need to be aware that your body can play tricks on you and subconsciously try to make you say what you're doing is stupid because you're not losing weight anymore. And just because you're not losing weight, if you're doing anything more physically active and you're eating more protein, you could be losing fat and not be losing weight. You know, you're gaining muscle, especially if you're not super fit and active and lifting all the time. Your body can throw on a ton of muscle very quickly, especially if you've ever had it before any point in your life, and that's called muscle memory. And it has to do with like the muscle, what is it, satellite cells and sarcom, like the satellite cells are muscle stem cell. Um, and how nucleated the muscle cells get. So the bottom line, starvation mode is real, but it's not as powerful as some people may think. Starvation mode is also only really real if you're calorically restricting and not fasting. You heard that from me. I will freaking stand by that. Prove me wrong with that. I hope somebody proves me wrong with that. It's also not an on and off phenomenon. Rather, it's an entire spectrum of your body adapted to either increase or decrease caloric intake. In fact, starvation mode is the misleading term. Something like metabolic adaptation or metabolic slowdown would be much more appropriate. I agree, Chris from Healthline. The effect is simple body physiological response to reduce caloric intake. Without it, humans would have become extinct thousands of years ago. Thank you. Oh shoot, I keep saying Chris. This is Ryan. I'm sorry, Ryan, for misquoting you for like probably the last like 30 minutes. All right. Let's do this one real quick. Let's do this one quickly. I want to start getting done by 9, so then I'll start by 8. So 8 reasons you're not losing weight on keto. Usually, people are not as keto as they think. Wait, well, hang on. Let's see. So ketogenic diet is a low-carb diet, or basically, let's just see if I could do this here. What would I look up? Ketosis. Let's see. Glycolysis in the cytoplasm, citric acid cycle, the electron transport chain. I'm trying to find something for you guys. Sorry, I did not plan to do this. I just wanted to show you this to see if I could actually figure this out for you and show you. Okay, screw it. It's whatever. So anyway, whenever your blood sugar drops low enough, as your blood sugar is dropping, once it hits a certain point, um, your body's aware of this, right? Your body's aware of ranges, not necessarily specific levels. So once your blood sugar gets low for you, you start to get lightheaded. Maybe you even feel anxious. Your heart rate increases. You start to get all sympathetic and you freak out. But part of the reason you're feeling like that is because the sympathetic hormones are now active. And the sympathetic hormones like epinephrine, norepinephrine, cortisol, which cortisol is a glucocorticoid, that will make you feel in fight or flight mode. So the fight or flight hormones are what burn the fat. They mobilize the fat initially in their response. I think it's called like hormone sensitive lipase is the primary fat or the primary hormone involved in mobilizing and metabolizing fat. So anyway, yeah, you all know what that's like. If you haven't had food in a while, you start to get lightheaded. All of a sudden, you're feeling anxious. All this stuff. That's like a way to feel like your body's in. Granted, I wouldn't play with that too much. Super unhealthy to feel like that. The way you really want your body to be is after you get into ketosis a few more times and you lower your blood sugar enough, your body's going to upregulate the enzymes that it needs to have a smoother transition. Which, I mean, whenever you start a ketogenic diet, eventually you have the brain fog, which you can supplement that with magnesium or just a general multivitamin, which I recently found out magnesium's not in very many multivitamins, which is kind of silly because it controls quite a few other electrolytes and it's really important. So, when following a ketogenic diet, they're cut to 20 to 50 grams a day. Yeah, that's so controversial because people like to talk about when you're in ketosis, bro. Like, what are your ketone levels? Show me your strip. Show me your urine strip. And I think it's kind of really silly, depending upon how big of a person you are. You Ketosis is really just the opposite of sugar and insulin, right? So if I just think about food, I can increase my insulin. But is it statistically significant enough to take me out of ketosis? I don't think so. Certain BCAAs, the most useless supplement in the history of the world, branched chain amino acids. It's like $1 billion supplement, does nothing. And people swear by them. That just shows you, that should be proof to how real the placebo effect is. They've been shown to be the most pointless thing in the world if you just have a decent diet. But people just love them. So anyway, okay, I said this would be quick and it's not. So to reap the benefits of a ketogenic diet, the easiest way to be on a ketogenic diet would be to just fast. If you want to get over this hump of being in the brain fog period, if you just did a 48 to 72 hour fast, which I wouldn't say just start to do that. I would say start with 16 and 8 and then work your way up to a dinner to dinner. See how your body feels with fasting. I'm not saying you're going to just stroke out or something like that. But if you're currently taking insulin and metformin, granted metformin's protective against that, I would just be a little more careful. I wouldn't say just do a 48 to 72 hour fasting, especially if you're really trying to lose weight. If you're a fairly healthy person, then it's not going to do anything. But it would get you into ketosis really quickly. So gradually lowering your sugar is a way to do it. That can kind of prolong it. So if you're one of those people that's like, man, if I wanted to be in ketosis, I want to be in it like right now, go full keto, screw carbs, stuff like that. Yeah, just nip it in the butt right there. You'll feel crappy for a few days, but then you'll be fully in ketosis, whatever that means. Yeah, otherwise you can just do what the rational thing would be to do and just, I would fast, have 2 meals a day, lunch, dinner, that's it. Make your feeding window, 6 to 8 hours a day. Don't have any snacks, have enough water, and reduce simple sugars, eliminate fructose, things like that. And your body will be able to smoothly bounce back and forth from glycolysis and ketosis pretty quickly. And yeah, but I don't know. That's not as mentally stimulating as being like ketosis. You aren't eating nutritious foods. So no matter what dietary plan, the key to healthy weight loss is consume nutritious whole foods. The key to losing to weight loss a lot of times is having enough protein. If I were to just say food and you aren't eating food and weight loss and I had to guess, just say protein. Most people, whenever they want to lose weight, they do not have enough protein. When you don't have enough protein, you feel like crap and you're always freaking hungry. Fat is the second most satiating or making you full thing, macronutrient. Sugar horrible at making you feel full. And whenever you want, and I had somebody one time try to pull up this little chart to show me the foods that make you feel the most full, and they're like all carbs. It's like, no, 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 no. These are full of fiber. That is playing, that's playing the game a little differently. When I talk about which macronutrient makes you feel the most full, it's protein, then fat, then sugar, right? But all these people and these vegans who like want to just throw carbohydrates and sugar at you despite most of them being overweight and having to supplement their diet with things that don't even exist. Like, to say that the vegan diet is the most sustainable and healthy diet in the world, despite all of them having to take other multivitamins and fortified grains and stuff that don't exist in nature at all to survive, or they would die of, like, I don't know, not scurvy, but some nutritional deficiency because they eat so many carbs in the first place, which makes your body get depleted of vitamins and minerals anyway faster, which is proven by people who have low carb diets. They don't reach the vitamin mineral deficiencies as fast. I don't know. That kind of stuff just drives me out of happy town. We'll say that. No longer in happy town when I start thinking about that stuff. Yeah, if you're losing weight, you're always consuming too many calories. I mean, that's all relative, right? So you're consuming too many calories to what? You're consuming too many calories based upon what you're doing that day and what your body needs that day. I don't like to say like, oh, I went over 2,500 calories, so that means I'm going to gain weight. No, that's not wise. I think we like to give people a number to hit because it's a lot easier to give somebody a number to hit than try to figure out why that the number might change and be different. And once you actually start looking into why the number might change and be different, you can have a little bit more play with that number, right? Like, I eat a lot of food sometimes, and sometimes I don't eat a lot of food at all, but I always fast until, I don't know, I'd say on average, I eat around 1 or 2 p.m. But yesterday I had a piece of fruit at 11:30. I'm sorry. It was a plum. It was delicious. But, then we had dinner at 7-ish, something like that. That was it. Boom, bam, done, right? And I ate a ton of food for dinner, so much food. And I didn't wake up fatter. And I do it every day. And I don't gain any weight. And I still have diet soda and alcohol and pizza and all kinds of stuff. But my body is responsive enough to the food that I'm eating now because I spent the last few years doing 24-hour fasts, 48-hour fasts, a couple 72-hour fasts, resistance training out the wazoo, focusing on type 2 muscle fibers, improving my insulin sensitivity with sauna, doing everything I possibly could to generate this environment, because that's kind of what your body is, right? I don't mean that to sound like my environment's great. I have so many problems, like we all do, right? All I'm trying to say is I have created a hormone profile for myself that does not want to gain any weight. And it really doesn't want to lose a lot of weight, but it doesn't really want to gain weight, doesn't really want to lose weight. It's kind of in this happy zone. Physically, my form matches my function. I work out and do things enough that my form matches it. I'm not humongously jacked and massive and super shredded, but at the same time, I can eat pizza, I can have alcohol, I can have pizza rolls, cookies, all kinds of stuff. My blood sugar doesn't go through the roof. I'm not pre-diabetic. And yeah, I know I'm only 30, but let's go play a game called Who's 30 and see how they look, right? I took the time and the effort to get my body in this position. And I know I'm 30. You might be older than that, but you can do the exact same thing. You don't have to constantly be wondering about what you're eating, when you're eating it, like, once you get the ball rolling hormonally and you get your set point, because I personally believe everybody has a set point, which is why we always fluctuate up and down a few pounds until we make some drastic life-changing decision or really hit the gym hard and change our diet. Then we can kind of change that set point. And that's based off of research of Dr. Jason Fung. He's Asian. He has a fasting documentary on Netflix. Brilliant guy, but he talks about the set point theory. I don't know if it's his theory or not. That's just where I heard it from. So throw in the reference that way. So definitely eating too many calories, but the too many calories part is fairly relative to you. And that's the interesting part, right? Just the simple calories and macros and stuff. That's not very interesting or intuitive, and you can't really learn anything, which is why when you go to trainers and nutritionists and they just give you numbers to hit and stuff, you don't learn anything. That's the frustrating part. You don't learn. If everybody just slowly learned and accumulated knowledge that just wasn't pointless, almost said the P word, BS that you hear about all day, and it was actual useful, healthy knowledge. What do we do whenever you have somebody around you? You talk to them usually, right? And if we were filling our minds with useful information, be it like gardening, carpentry, life, philosophy, not the other P word that does nothing, but diet, nutrition, exercise, resistance training, because there's a pandemic in this world that matters a whole lot more than the C word. And that's not the other C word. That's funny. There's 2 C words now. Anyway, it's obesity. Gonna kill way more people. Already has killed way more people. Kills a ton of people. If you want to go to directly to the obesity-related deaths, that's kind of, in my opinion, stupid. I used the S word. I did it because a lot of the other things in the top 10 list are directly caused, and obesity and being overweight are direct risk, not even just correlation. Anyway, underdiagnosed hypothyroidism is one that a lot of people like to throw out but don't really have at all. It gets you so much. So here's a fun fact. I always say that there's like 3 hormones that you can play with, and no matter what, someone will gain weight. If I remove your thyroid, you'll get fat. If I shove insulin full of insulin, you'll get fat. Just look, there's type 1 diabetics that fat because they overload on insulin all the time, because they've probably bottomed out a few times and they're so terrified by it, almost PTSD-like, that they're just going to keep pumping up food and insulin, and they don't want to be either up or down. They're right there, perfect level. Or cortisol. So Cushing syndrome is an elevation, and there's Cushing syndrome, there's Cushing disease. There's a whole lot of stuff that it's really fun to go into, but that's Cushing cortisol, right? So, and then depression kind of plays around with those 3 hormones. Hyperinsulinemia, there you go. Polycystic ovarian syndrome, that would be primarily due to the fact that you have, you get like an insulin resistance, you have peripheral conversions of estrogens into, what is it? Is it peripheral conversions of estrogen and androgens? You get an androgen excess, which is why they get like the hairy lip and all this stuff like that. But there's a massive insulin resistance associated with PCOS, which is why the primary treatment is weight loss. So thyroid, you remove thyroid, you gain weight. This one is really just a symptom of gaining weight. This one is cortisol. You add cortisol, you gain weight. This one, whenever you're depressed, chronically cortisol goes up, so you'll gain weight. Hyperinsulinemia is the same thing as diabetes. You gain weight. That's kind of cool. They're all 3 right there. All 3 hormones. That's what he lists. I say that a lot. Yeah, I wouldn't give yourself unrealistic weight loss expectations. I want to lose 47 pounds in a week. Okay, who's your surgeon? You know, basing your goals off of cultural norms and fitness models and influencers is really ridiculous. Almost every single person that you see on Instagram or whatever social media you prefer, or if you watch television, they're all on steroids. Jason Momoa is on steroids. Arnold Schwarzenegger, steroids. Sylvester Stallone, steroids. Granted, he's like 1,000. He looks amazing. So who cares? He's like on the same stuff like Captain America is on. Also on steroids. Or has been on steroids. Chris Hemsworth always been on steroids at some point in his life. To hit that lean mass at his height, that amount of muscle. Granted, a lot of his stuff can be photoshopped at times. Anybody who's really jacked and really ripped, unless they happen to be a freak, which there are freaks, and I don't mean freaks in a bad way, I mean in a really good, I'm jealous of you way, they're almost all on steroids. Like, for instance, when I was growing up, I went to a camp. There's always a few people that were pretty shredded, pretty big, just naturally. They weren't on steroids. No way. Like, maybe some of them were, but So there's variation, right? But if you're in Hollywood, you're getting paid millions of dollars a year. You don't just like get big and shredded and lean by having chicken and watching a celebrity workout, which is just ultra high reps with low rest. They're always really sweaty. They yell a lot. They make a cool montage. They post it. You buy into it. Then it really just turns into a marketing scheme because you can buy Chris Hemsworth workout. Anyway, just want you to know that when you're setting your expectations, be realistic. Don't base yourself on who you see on television and stuff. You're probably never going to look like them. They're probably photoshopped, the lighting's right, their makeup's right. Like, I mean, just look what we can do with contouring our cheeks with makeup. Imagine what they can do with a computer and a body, right? So, yeah. You're constantly snacking. I don't really care what he says on anything before or after this. Get out of this habit. It sucks. I loved it. And then in the last few months, I started again, and I realized I loved it again. And I'm going to work on not doing it as much anymore, right? But that's pretty much one of the worst things. If we just ate meals and then nothing else between ever, a lot of our issues would be improved. Most of the food in the entire grocery store is a snack. Just think about that. You're stressed out and not getting adequate sleep. Yes, we don't spend enough time de-stressing. So we spend all this time worrying about everything. Probably worrying about all the stuff that I'm talking about here for like the few people that want to watch this and are interested. You're stressed all the time. You don't ever take any time to de-stress and reduce your cortisol levels, improve your dopamine levels. Like 5 or 10 minutes of just doing something. Doesn't matter what it is. Anything that you like to do, take 5 or 10 minutes and do that every single day. And in a week or two, you'll be blown away at how much better you feel and how much better your sleep improves. But if your diet's not decent and your sleep's not decent and you're not drinking enough water, doesn't matter what else you do, it's never going to be as big of a bang for your buck, right? Granted, if you just had a brand new baby, you're probably not going to sleep. So there's other stuff that we can do, and that's why they exist. And a lot of the reasons the other things exist between sleep, diet, and water is because really hard to market sleep, diet, water. Granted, I mean, not really hard, but we've almost created this illusion that eating fairly well is expensive. Eating conveniently well can be expensive. Having the most organic and the most free range, the most cage-free. No, my chickens were so cage-free, they didn't even know what a cage was. So buy my product. You know, like that's the debate now. It's kind of silly. So anyway, getting enough physical activity, that's pretty normal. I think jogging is really dumb. I think you should go out and walk. I think you should talk while you walk, call somebody while you walk. Call somebody and see how they're doing. Then you work on your stress levels and you're getting physical activity. You're getting vitamin D. We all worry about the sun and cancer, but having a decreased vitamin D level is just as big of a cancer risk for most people as the sun. FF, fun fact. Walking and sprinting are the most efficient ways of burning fat conditioning wise, whereas when you get into jogging and stuff, that's just heart and cardiovascular health. Really inefficient for fat loss. It's like I'm jaded because I had to jog so much in college, and it was they told us about all these benefits. It's really mental. It doesn't do anything physically other than break you down and wear your joints out. Okay, so I guess when I'm wrapping this up, so let's just see here. I might do a video later this week on starting exercise. I'll probably do that on I might do it tomorrow, maybe tomorrow or Monday, depending on. I'll do a little bit. I don't want to just go through starting exercise really quickly and then just blast through it super fast because I think it's super important. And starting exercise would be like for anybody who's ever painted before. If you do the prep work, the job is so easy. It's all about the prep. The more prep time you do and the more that you go into getting everything ready, sure, at a certain point, you just have to do it. If you just talk about it, eventually you have to just do it. But like in all of this, there's a balance to it. A certain amount of prep as far as your body is concerned, your joints are concerned, and, a little bit of an awareness of what to expect will go a very long way for how well you do with that program. So anyway, All right, guys, I am gonna jump off of here. It is 9:09, so I think we've officially been going for an hour. That's kind of my goal. And moving forward, as this progresses, I'll probably do a couple of these a week, probably two. One in the beginning. I like doing one in the weekend in the morning. I just always have something show up at 8, but I'm taking some time to make the time for you. So again, here's my website, startfreshmd.com. Mailing list is not, I haven't been sending it out yet. I need to get more people to sign up for it before I do that. But that'll just be including updates on new articles that I make, new videos that I make, updates on the live stream. Anytime I have like random thoughts on supplements and stuff. Or if you guys send me questions, I'll talk about those. Here's the articles that I do, which aren't all inclusive articles. It's more just my opinion on things and maybe how you should approach them. Previous videos here would be like this live stream's gonna go here. My last video log that I did yesterday is right here. Um, that's kind of how that works. And then as usual, the donate button does work. Tried and tested. Works. It's like Novocaine. Just give it time. It always works. All right, everybody. I will see you guys later. Tanner Fresh Hour here. Fresh Start. Dr. Fresh Hour signing off. Have a great morning. Have a great day. Have a great life. See you next week. See you later this week.